शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नमुपशान्तये दक्षिणामूर्तिसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गणपति बप्पा जय श्रीराम। Quickly, before we get on with the topic on hand, last time, if you remember, I had covered on the types of debates, types of discussions that our Shastras talk of and the manner in which needs to be conducted. Something as an extension, I wanted to actually cover it last time, but paucity of time I didn't cover. Just quickly I'll touch upon the additional aspect around that. So in today's world, what happens is, so there are two types of laws. Okay, one is an ancient law, one is an ancient rule, which is the dharma that we understand, the Sanatana Dharma. And then, of course, there is this modern wisdom that comes to play on the do's and don'ts, right? So every age, every era will have its own rules, which will come and play in predominance, and that will generally get called as a modern rule. While there is always an ancient wisdom, ancient dharma, which will always exist, and it will exist across the time. So how do you kind of differentiate between the two is basically you call one as orthodox, which is the ancient wisdom, is generally called as an orthodox. And what is applicable today, or what falls into the four corners of a modern law is something called as modernism, which means you aren't modern enough to think like that, or these are the modern rules that are applicable. Because there are certain rules that society is always in a state of flux, so it will always have certain modern rules that get created, which necessarily need not align with the orthodox rules. Might not. It's up to the modern age or the era that builds that rule. The problem begins, it's not about following old law or following the new law. The problem begins when we call orthodoxy, person who's following the old rules or the ancient wisdom, as conservative. So being orthodox necessarily doesn't mean one is conservative. Just because somebody who aligns himself to the modern rules doesn't necessarily means they are liberal. And this is important. So when we actually get into argument, debates, discussions, all those who generally follow the orthodox rules, so the ancient dharma, or if there is a set of rules that has been told to us in terms of how to lead a life, people generally get dubbed as being conservative, which is wrong. We can be as liberal as possible in spite of aligning ourselves with the orthodox rules. At the same time, we can also be equally conservative if we are following the modern rules. So conservatism and liberalism doesn't necessarily be synonym to being orthodox or being modern, and that is an important part of the discussion. So when you get into a discussion, when a lot of people generally say, when you say, no, I belong to the orthodox school of thought, that these are the rules and it is important to be followed, people will generally come back saying that you are being conservative. One needs to have enough ground to argue back, and that's the reason I thought I'll cover that as an aspect. That's more to just as an extension to last time's discussion on debates. Now coming to the topic in hand that we have. So I promised that we will now start off with Sundarkand. That is where we will now begin. We have covered the four important parts of Ramayana. One is the Balakand, the Ayodhya Kand, the Aranya Kand, and the Kishkinda Kand. So all four have got covered, and now we are at the threshold of Sundarkand. Something that I have been oft repeating, even in the message today I put, people only if you listen to Sundarkand, people generally say if there is a problem in house, if there is no happiness, if there is no peace of mind, people will generally be told that you do Sundarkand Parayan. Only Sundarkand also is very effective, and people are told as a parihar, as a response to resolve the issue in home, just do Sundarkand Parayan. That is that powerful. Could be Valmiki, could be Kamba Ramayana, could be Ramcharitramanas of Tulsidas Goswami, whichever. generally takes 3 to 4 hours to just do a Parayan. What we are going to do is we are going to cover it as a story, not as a Parayan, we are going to cover it as a story. So we might probably take about 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 sessions to cover the entire Sundarkand. Sundarkand generally it blesses us with education, marriage, progeny, wealth, health, happiness, prosperity, peace of mind, everything that is auspicious and good. That is something that gives us, Sundarkand gives us. So with that prayer, that all of this is something that we should get with that good, noble thought and prayer, we will enter into Sundarkand. We'll give you a quick wrap up of what had happened till last time, because we had a 1 week break, 1 session break. We had come to a place where 4 months of inaction because of rains. Then Lakshmana goes and reminds Sugriva of the promise that he was to keep. And then they assemble all their army, and now they have put in place the 4 teams. So if you remember, they have put in place 4 teams for north, south, east, west. The general argument is that when we know it was Ravana who took Sita, and we know that she's in Lanka, so why was the north, west and east team put in place? So we have to think from the perspective of people who are searching. They don't know that Sita is in Ashokvan sitting, with tears. It's basically they are trying to understand. They know that Ravana has picked her up, yes, but they don't know for sure that he's gone down south. He might have turned left, north, whatever, So we don't know. So to be safe, they have put in place 4 teams to search. Those 3 teams, the north, west, and east, they have come back empty-handed after a month. Before going, of course, they have been told what to do, what not to do, how to search. Rama was very specific in giving instructions that you all will be passing through a lot of villages, towns, cities. You all are not supposed to disturb them. Yes, you all are an important task to find Sita, but you are not supposed to cause any problem to people who are resident in those towns, cities, villages. So you have to be very careful and not be a nuisance to them. This is an important instructions that Ram gives to all the Vanas, to all the team members. Basis which now they have gone, 3 teams have come back, they are not found, and now we will now shift our gear to the south team, which is being headed by Jambavan, Angad and Hanuman. This is where Sundarkand starts. This is where I told Sundarkand starts. Now it will only be about Hanuman. All the characters is going to slowly get away, and we'll only be talking of Hanuman for the next 3 weeks. So this south team now begins their journey. As they go southwards, as they are walking past certain villages and forests, suddenly they find that it's a huge mountain-like structure coming to life and grabbing a lot of Vanas, and there is a lot of flutter around the team. And then they realize that it's a big demon who's caught hold of certain Vanar. There is a team which has already gone ahead, so the Jambavan and Hanuman have already gone ahead, while Angada is with the back part, the last part is with them. And then Angada is caught in this flutter. They don't know what to do. Suddenly Angada gains consciousness and then fights this demon, and with one single blow kills the demon. Now because these are Vanars, they have very low intellect, they feel that this is actually Ravana. Okay, so they say, oh, we've killed Ravana. Who else other than Angada, the son of Vali himself, can kill Ravana with a single blow? Now we will surely find Sita very near. When Hanuman comes back and says, no, this is not Ravana. This is just a demon that we by chance found. Ravana is not somebody who can be killed by a single blow of Angada. So be rest assured. So they start walking further, and then they are now, after a lot of days of search, they are hungry, they are thirsty, they are very tired. Okay, they are in search of water and food. Now this is very important. Okay, when you think of, when you are thirsty, when you are hungry, you cannot think of anything else but food and water, right? And that is what hunger will always do to you. There's a very beautiful story. I don't know how many of you all have heard of Angulimala. Angulimala was with Buddha. Okay, very tragic story, a very tear-jerking story. One should probably read the comic or whatever. A big tragedy befalls on that kid, and that kid takes a completely different turn. He kind of becomes a killer. He becomes an assassin. He will kill people and cut the little finger and make a garland out of it. So he becomes actually an assassin because of the tragedy that befalls on him. He takes a negative turn and becomes an assassin. He comes and meets Buddha, and then he gets totally reformed by Buddha, and he becomes a Buddhist monk. Once what happens is, Buddha and Angulimala are sitting under the tree. Buddha is telling something to Angulimala, and there's a beggar who comes begging for food. He's hungry, he's not eaten for maybe 3-4 days. Angulimala catches hold of him and he makes him sit and gives him water, and then he starts off on the Buddhist philosophy. Buddhists have a very strange philosophy of shunya. Okay? So he starts off on the Buddhist philosophy, and this beggar is continuously, after every 10 minutes he is listening, is pretending to listen, and then is saying, what happened to my food? I'm hungry. Angulimala is upset. He is all very charged up. He's learned something new from Buddha and he wants to train somebody into that philosophy. A new guru. He wants to train somebody. So that person is continuously hungry. Buddha has just left the scene and then he's gone and got an assistant, and he comes and says, this guy is hungry. Kindly feed him first. Angulimala is very upset. He says, what, this hungry man, I am teaching him the best of the philosophies and this guy is busy asking for food. He goes and complains to Buddha. Buddha says, don't talk of philosophy to a hungry stomach. That hungry stomach can think of nothing. The hungry stomach can only think of food. And first you have to feed him. Once you feed him and he is satiated, then you talk all the philosophy of the world, his mind will absorb. Till such time as his stomach is hungry, he is not going to take anything other than food as an intake, right, as an input. I just thought of this story. So these guys, they are searching for Sita. Now Hanuman is trying to keep the focus on, but they are tired, they are thirsty, they are hungry, and they cannot think now anything other than food. So as they are walking, they find a cave. Okay, now this is a strange cave. That cave has got birds coming out, and there are also birds which are going in. So they realize that if there is birds which are coming in and out, ideally this cave seems to have a water body inside. If not anything else, at least a water body. Otherwise birds will not be going in and out of this place. So they start rushing towards the cave. Now it's a very odd thing for a cave to have this kind of a water body and for birds to come in and go out chirping. Hanuman says, wait, don't hurry, but these guys are in no mood to listen. So they kind of just rush into the cave. Hanuman, Angad, Jambavan, they also kind of follow them to ensure that they are equally protected. So they enter the cave, they walk in the darkness for a while, and suddenly there's light everywhere. And it's a beautiful place, lot of small hillocks, greenery everywhere, waterfall, ponds, river flowing. It's a huge place, it opens up into a huge place. There are a lot of trees, lot of birds, beautiful animals, lot of fruits, flowers. All the monkeys are all crazy. They see a lot of water and there is a lot of food around, and they are all just waiting to pounce when they see a yogini, an ascetic, a lady, who's doing penance at a distance. As these guys enter with a lot of noise, her meditation has got disturbed, and she opens her eyes and sternly looks at these people as to who are these people who have suddenly come into this beautiful place, tranquil place, and disturbing the peace of the place. And she opens and sees them sternly. All these vanas are all afraid. They are thinking this is probably some rishi patni or some ascetic who might just curse them for having disturbed. So they are all extremely hungry, but they are all extremely afraid. So they all kind of wait. Hanuman takes the first step. He goes to this ascetic. The first thing he does is goes and falls at their feet and says, Mate, who are you? And what is this beautiful place in the midst of a cave? And where is the sunlight coming in the completely enclosed area? What Hanuman does is a very critical thing. Doing namaskar to an elder breaks the ice like this, right? And this is a very critical way of dealing with relationships. And who else other than Hanuman can really do this? The moment he saw somebody who's elder and worthy of respect, the first thing he did is Mate. He called her as a mother, and he bowed down fully. He said, Namaskar, did a namaskar, and he says, Mate, what is this place and how is it so beautiful, full of fruits and flowers and so much amount of beauty around? The moment she sees Hanuman, one, Hanuman is a pleasant person to deal with, and secondly, the moment he does namaskar and calls her Mate, she also mellows down and she says, son, this is a place which has been built by an asura called Mayavi. If you remember, Mayavi and Hema are mother and father, parents to Mandodari, Ravana's wife. Okay? Mayavi is an architect. Like Vishwakarma is the architect for the Devas, Mayavi is the architect for the Asuras. Right? So by his magical power, he has built this place. Hema happens to be my friend who's gone to the Indralok. She's an Apsara. Hema is an Apsara. She's gone to the Indralok for some work and she might not come back for some few years. So she has given me the charge of this place for its upkeep and for its safety. So I am in charge of this place is what that ascetic says. And my name is Swayam Prabha. Okay, that is what she says. That's my name. And I am taking care of this place. Son, I can see you that you people are extremely famished. You are extremely hungry and thirsty. You all feed yourselves. You all drink as much of water that you all want to. And then you tell me your story. She also realizes no point in asking these people as to who you all are because they are extremely hungry. They will only end up destroying the entire place. So she says, take your time, eat, drink, and then tell me your story. That is okay. So everybody is all happy, they are all climbing trees, eating fruits. Hanuman is telling, okay, try and keep the cleanliness as much as possible. You don't throw all the seeds here and there. Just be careful, don't destroy the tranquil of this place. And Vanas are Vanas, they're just kind of having a party time over there. They're drinking water, they're resting on the branches, and finally they've got food to eat. So they all are mentally now at ease. Hanuman now comes and tells what he is here for. Then he says, Mate, this is the reason why I am here. Ravana picked up the wife, abducted the wife of Sri Ram, and he befriended Sugriva. And then having befriended Sugriva, we are the part of Sugriva's Vanar team. Sugriva is our king. And we are on a duty to find, and we are a search party who are to find Sita and come back and report to them. You need to now tell me as to how do we exit this place, because I can realize, I'm able to realize that this is a magical place and I do not find an exit. So you need to help me because I'm on a divine assignment. You need to help me out. So that lady, Swayam Prabha, she says, yes, you are very right, Hanuman. There is no exit to this place at all. The only person who can ensure that you get exited from this place is me. Otherwise, there is no exit. Once you enter, you cannot exit this place. It is a magical place. But I'll help you. Now, the reason why I'll help you is because you seem to be on a divine assignment. Now, she says this outside, but internally she is thinking that this is important that this team goes and meets Ravana. Why? Because Ravana happens to be the son-in-law to Hema, right? So she knows that the son-in-law is up to something wrong. He seems to have abducted some lady and somebody is in distress, and these people are there to find her. So it is important that these people are able to find so that my son-in-law doesn't end up doing anything wrong. My friend's son-in-law doesn't end up doing anything wrong. So her alliance, she owes an alliance towards Hema. So she feels my friend's son-in-law needs to be mended. He's not supposed to do something wrong. And hence she goes on to help these people. She says, close your eyes and the moment you will find yourself out of this place. Now all the Vanas are saying, no, we don't want to close our eyes. They are very happy here. We've got enough food here. We've got enough water here. Forget finding Sita. We are not going to find Sita at all. We've been searching now for more than a month. We are not going to find Sita. No point in going back. We are very happy here. Please keep us here. Hanuman is saying, no, what are you talking? You have work to do. Ensure that all of them close your eyes. So it forces them to close the eyes. And then a split second, they all get transported. Teletransportation, something that existed those days. So they all get transported to the south tip of India, which is near Mahendragiri. Okay, that is where they get shifted. These people are now, on one side there is deep blue ocean, and the other side is the land that they came from. And they have not found Sita anywhere, right? Till such time they were searching, they didn't find Sita. Now they are out of the cave and this lady has put them at that place because she knows where Lanka is. She knows where Ravana would have taken. So her best choice was to put them onto the beach, to the seashore. So she makes them land there. Now from these guys' perspective, if you were to think, there is only ocean in their front and there is no other place to go, right? So they have thought this is land's end and there is nothing else to do now. So they are all extremely dejected. They are so dejected that they are saying we will now not go back at all. I would rather go and die rather than go and face the wrath of Sugriva, because Sugriva will get so angry that he will anyway kill us for not having got the news back. They say there is no point in going and meeting Sugriva back at all. Let us all die here. Angada is also saying this now. Angada is saying anyway my uncle doesn't have great love for me. There is no love lost there. He didn't like my brother, my father. He doesn't like me also much. I would also rather give away my life here, I am not going anywhere. No, they are all extremely dejected. So Hanuman is trying to put some sense into them, but they have no use. They are all kind of laying, they are all sleeping on their back and they are all lamenting now. They are all in a pessimistic mood. And then they are talking of dying. Now the moment they are talking of dying, there is a huge creature in a cave on a small mountain there, which suddenly becomes very interested. Now that huge creature slowly creeps out and looks at what is happening. You know, why are these? There are some people who are talking of dying, and that creature is very happy. Now that creature is Sampati. Sampati is a vulture. Sampati is the elder brother to Jatayu. If you remember, I told the story of Jatayu, sons of Varuna, elder brother to Garuda, and two sons. Two sons are Sampati and Jatayu. What happens is, Jatayu, when he was young, and so was Sampati, Jatayu starts flying high towards the sun, and he comes so close to the sun that he might just get burned by the heat of sun. Sampati suddenly comes and covers Jatayu, and in doing so, he burns his wings. Sampati has burned his wings, so he is not now able to fly. He falls in the third down, and that is the place where he falls. So all these years, Jatayu is the person who's been finding food. You know, vultures eat only dead bodies. He will get the dead bodies and he will feed him. Now for a very long time, Jatayu has not returned. Why? Because Jatayu is dead, right? So Sampati is actually worried as to why he is not here, why he is not got food for a long time. And Sampati is also hungry. And these guys are talking of dying. So he's very happy now. Okay, some people are going to die. And he comes and peeps and sees, who are these people? He sees a bunch of monkeys who are just lamenting, completely dejected. I am going to die. There's no point in living. My Rama killed my king, who is Vali. Some monkey is now saying that story as to how Rama killed the monkey. And then there's some other monkey says, no, even before Vali got killed, it is Jatayu who got killed because of Ravana. And then suddenly Sampati's ears are on. How come Jatayu got killed? He suddenly comes out. Huge vulture, okay? Jatayu and Sampati are huge vultures. A huge vulture coming out of the cave. All these vanas are all petrified. They all start running helter-skelter. Angada then kind of holds his poise and he comes and asks, who are you? He says, forget who am I? You spoke of Jatayu dying. How did he die? Who are you and why are you asking of Jatayu? He says, I'm Jatayu's elder brother, Sampati. Why did Jatayu die in service of Rama? Who is Rama? Why did Ravana pick his wife? You need to tell me all the story. This is the first time that I am hearing that my brother has died. Then they start telling the entire Ramayana for him. Now, this is the beauty of Ramayana. Okay, this is Ramayana will have Ramayana itself being repeated within Ramayana. Okay, this is the beauty. There is not redundancy. Why it happens is because the more you hear about Ramayana, the more benefit you get, the more punya, the more good deed that you do. And hence, Valmiki has embedded the shorter versions of Ramayana at periodical intervals. So the first that you will hear is now. These Vanar uttering entire Ramayana right from Rama's birth till Sita getting abducted, Jatayu getting killed, Vali getting killed, and the search party being formed, and how these guys have reached here. So the entire Ramayana gets uttered now. I will not repeat it now because we have already gone through a set of Ramayana. But I will anyway utter the short form of Ramayana when Hanuman repeats Rama and Ramayana to Sita when he is going to go and meet. Okay? And he does for a particular reason. That again Ramayana will get repeated. Okay? And we should get that benefit. So I will anyway try and repeat at that point of time. So these Vanars then tell the entire Ramayana. As soon as Sampati listens to the entire story of how Rama lived, was in the forest and how Jatayu helped and how he killed Vali and the kind of dharma that is done, Sampati utters the word Rama 3 times. He says, oh, such a great king is Rama. The moment he utters that, it seems slowly his wings starts growing. Okay, so he has a fresh set of wings only by uttering Rama. Okay, this is generally when Pravachankaras generally talk of this, people draw a parallel. So they draw a parallel to an event in Krishnavatar. In Krishnavatar, what happens is Kalinga has poisoned the entire Yamuna Nadi, the river, right? So all the trees which are feeding from that water have gone completely dead. There are not a single leaf on them. No fruits, no leaf, completely barren, just branches. Okay. When Krishna climbs on one of the trees and then jumps into the water, that tree from where he jumps starts growing leaves and fruits instantly. Okay, that is the effect of God touching the life of a tree. Similarly, just as Sampati just uttered the word Rama, he starts getting a fresh set of wings, and he's very happy that he's now able to fly. So he slowly flies and ascends, and he says, yes, you all did tell about a lady in distress who was taken away by Ravana. Ravana did pass through this place, and now I can see Sita. I am presuming she is Sita. I can see a lady who's crying and sitting under a tree in Ashok Van in Lanka, which is 100 yojanas away. This is what Sampati tells. Now Sampati is the first person who has given some credible intel, okay, credible information that he has been able to see Sita. Now why is he able to see Sita? Because he's a vulture. He's got ability to see far distant places, right? And Sampati is in divine vulture, so he's able to see a real long distance. So he says, I can see Sita and she's in distress, she's crying, she's sitting under a tree in Ashok Van and she's crying. And Angada asks, how far is this place? He says this is about 100 yojanas. Okay, each yojana is about 12 kilometers, around 12. So we'll, for the sake of mathematics, consider as 10. So about 1000 kilometers. That's the distance where Sita is sitting, and he's able to see that far. So these people are extremely happy. They said, okay, now we are very happy that we have got the news of Sita, and we've got a credible intel that Sita is alive, Sita is there, and now we need to go. And so there's one group of people now, Vanar saying, now let's go back. Now there is nothing else to do. Now let us go back, meet Rama and tell that we've seen Sita, and now we'll come back and then ensure that Sita is relieved from her imprisonment. Hanuman says, no, wait. And this is where Hanuman is critical. Okay. So what was the job description for Hanuman and the team? The job description was two-pronged. One, find Sita, give her the ring, and get back something from her. This is what is a clear instruction from Rama. So these people, they are seeing huge ocean. There is no way they are going to cross that. So they are saying, now that we found somebody else saying, not even first-hand information, somebody else is saying that they have seen Sita. No, we don't know whether Sampati has even seen Sita. We don't know if there is some other lady who seems to be in distress, right? How do I get that first-hand information that it is Sita? I don't know. I do believe that this is the lady whom Ravana carried. It is enough for us to go ahead and try and search. So that is enough intel that we have to take further action. But going back is not an option. This is one. So secondly, it is important to know that Hanuman is a person who can understand instructions and able to read between lines. And this is why I keep coming back. One should always have employees like Hanuman. Ability to think beyond the brief, right? He says, Rama didn't tell this explicitly, but it is very important that not only we meet Sita, we should also tell the news to Sita that we are in search and we will come and relieve her. Right? Sita is spent now almost 5 to 6 months sitting there. She doesn't even know whether Rama is searching for her. Right? She doesn't even know whether Rama is alive, whether he's died crying for her. That news has to be given to her that no, don't worry Mate, our team has found you. That's one. Not only that, what will effectively happen is Sita will also know, oh okay, Rama is searching for me and he's going to come back. So she also will spend a balanced part of the time in relief. Right? This is important, and this is what in computer language is called ACT-SYNAC. Okay? And this is very important in correspondence and communications. We are all so pathetic sometimes in communication and correspondence. So how does a node talk to its server? Okay, there is a handshake that apparently happens, and it is three-way communication. It is never just two-way. So the node computer will first make a signal, will ping the server, and it will say that this is my number, I want to now talk to you. Okay? The server will acknowledge, saying that I acknowledge you, now you can talk to me. This is synchronization. Then the node computer will again send a ping saying, yes, I have understood you having told me this, Now I will start my synchronization and now I will start communicating. So it is not just two ways, saying that I am saying hello, hi, how are you? The person says, hi, I am fine, how are you? Now I am supposed to say I am fine, right? Only then the communication gets completed. So it's always three ways. Hanuman has to meet Sita, Sita has to meet Hanuman, and then Hanuman has to take the message of having understood what Sita wants to convey to Ram and then come back, right? So all these three things have to happen, and Hanuman is somebody who will not leave the work halfway. And this is very important. This is the way communications happen. This is the way communications happen even today. When you deal with clients, we don't just say, hello, this is a mail, I am sending this mail, you kindly act on it. Now that person, when he responds, I need to respond back saying that I got your mail, thanks. Only then he will understand that we've got his mail, right? Only then the handshake is complete. So it's always three ways. And Hanuman is Hanuman, right? He says, I am not going to leave the way, anyways, this work half. We will ensure that we go there. Now everybody is thinking. Angada also says, yes, it is very true, that we have to ensure that we somehow reach Sita and meet her and then get her message back to Rama. So now they start discussing amongst themselves as to who can jump the longest. This is 100 yojanas, remember. Okay? So one of the powerful Vanaras says, I can only jump 10 yojanas. One of them says 20, another says 30, someone says 70. Angada says, I can jump 100 yojanas. Everybody is happy. Oh my God, there's someone who can jump 100 yojanas. I hope Angada is able to go. But Angada says, hold on. I can only jump 100 yojanas, but I'll be so tired that I'll not be able to come back. There is no use. You have to go, meet Sita, take her message, and then come back also. Right? You have to do complete the entire errand. You can't just finish it halfway and say, I'm tired, I'm going to be here. Jambavan says, had it been in my young days, I had done the entire globe, circumambulation of the entire globe 21 times. Jambavan in his younger days, the bear. But now I'm old, I can't even jump 50 yojanas, I'm of no use. And there's a lot of discussion. Again, there's more moving towards now pessimist mood, How do we even now cross this whole ocean and go and meet Sita? Hanuman is sitting in a distance, contemplating. He's thinking, somehow we should try and do something about it. I don't know what we can do. But he's not getting into this petty talks and kind of becoming a pessimist. He's trying to find a solution, but he doesn't have a solution himself, right? He's trying to find a solution. He's been trying to be contemplative and finding out a solution for the entire problem. So Jambavan takes a pause. He says, okay, wait. This is the right cause to trigger Hanuman. Okay? So he walks and he goes to Hanuman. And he says, Hanuman, my son, he first embraces him. And he says, if at all in this entire universe, if at all there is one person who can do this impossible feat, Hanuman, it is you. Now Hanuman is surprised, so are the other Vanars. They all know Hanuman is muscular, huge body. He is larger in size as compared to the other Vanars. He is also intelligent, he is a minister to Sugriva, everybody knows that he is an important person. But what is this old bear saying? Has he gone mad? Has he gone crazy? Hanuman can't jump this. Hanuman himself is feeling that. Hanuman is saying, what are you talking, Jambavan? I don't think I can even cross this. I can understand. We need to finish our work, but I am not the person. So Jambavan says, no, you are the only person who can do it. And then he starts. Why Sundarakand is important? Because not only because Ramayana gets repeated, but also because Hanuman's story gets uttered in this particular segment. Hanuman, he starts the entire story of Hanuman. He says, Hanuman, you were born to Kesari and to Anjana Devi. When you were born and then you were growing, when you were about to eat, your mother was about to feed you, you saw sun rising and you thought it to be a fruit and you took a leap towards it as if to go and gobble it up. Indra, in his anger, threw his vajra and you threw down on earth, and then you fell unconscious and you then had a broken jaw, and then your father became very angry and he sucked up all the air from Srishti, and then every god came and then assuaged and then came and consoled Vayu, and then also gave a lot of boons to you, and thus you are the only person who can do. He said, what are you talking? I don't remember any of these things happening. It is because you were also told that you will forget all of this, and only when you are reminded by a person for the right cause that you will start remembering all your past. And there can be no other right cause other than this, and hence I have taken the chance to completely narrate your story. Hanuman, as he is listening to the entire story, now has started understanding, now is suddenly now releasing his muscles, is flexing his muscles, and he can feel a gush of strength come into him. He's saying it is not just physical strength, you've got intelligence, you are smart, and you also have ability to shrink your size and to grow your size. Hanuman, you are the only person who can finish this task that has come in front of us, and that is the reason Rama has also given that ring to you. It is my duty, probably I was blessed to tell this story and to open this secret to you. Now that you have understood the secret and the purpose of your life, you should now go and do this particular task. Now, Hanuman is now completely aware of his strength. Now he is also testing himself. Now he kind of shrinks himself in size. And all the Vanas at a distance are seeing what is this old bear talking to Hanuman, and Hanuman suddenly now flexing his muscles and is going small in size, and then he starts increasing his size from 10 feet to 20 to 50 to 100 to 150. Now he's almost 15 floors. That is the size of Hanuman that is assumed. Now this is an important part in Ramayana, where Hanuman now has become aware of his power. Now where Hanuman has become aware of his knowledge. The Hanuman that was there till now, okay, that we know, and the Hanuman that now happens after this is a complete 180-degree shift. Okay, the Hanuman that we are so much in love with, the Hanuman that we are so much at awe, right? The Hanuman, that Hanuman who can do anything that is given to him. The Hanuman who can achieve the most impossible of tasks. The Hanuman who is now going to be called as Asadhya Sadhaka Swami. The Hanuman whom the moment we pray, our troubles will get resolved. That Hanuman has now taken birth, right? The whole Devas, Vishnu, Shiva, Parvati, Ganesh, Kartikeya, Indra, everybody in the sky are watching from their heavens, are watching this event, because this event is critical. Why? Because Hanuman is a Chiranjeevi, right? He is a Kali Yuga Devata. He is a God who will give whatever asked for, and it is that God, a normal Hanuman, has now shifted gear to become God Hanuman, right? And that is that event that triggers. Jambavan had that good fortune of telling that story that triggers the Hanuman written, and the Hanuman that we get, because Jambavan told that story, we got the Hanuman that we have in front of us today. Hanuman is a God who can destroy any problem that we have. Hanuman was a brahmachari, but you go and ask for progeny, he will bless progeny. You ask for intelligence, he will bless you intelligence. You ask for bhakti, he will bless you with bhakti. You ask for anything, and Hanuman will always give. That is the God that Hanuman is. So that Hanuman was born today, and that is being witnessed by gods themselves. What he now does, Jambavan says, Hanuman, I bless you. Now it is your job to ensure that you complete this work. And Hanuman now goes and climbs the Mahendragiri Parvat, that is the mountain that is there. And now he climbs the mountain. And once he has climbed the mountain, then he kneels down. He makes his one knee bent down, okay, and with one leg bent. For one to be able to thrust himself into the air, he bends his knee and then puts his hand on the ground like this. He crouches himself, okay, and all this while he's got only one thing in his mind, and that is Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. Everybody is seeing this whole size Bhimarup. This is not a Vishwarup, it is called as a Bhimarup. Everybody is seeing this Bhimarup, and everybody is saying Jai Hanuman, Jai Hanuman. Everybody is singing Jai Hanuman. But Hanuman is chanting only Jai Shri Ram, because for him it is only his Rama that can do all the task. He crouches himself. The amount of pressure that he puts onto the mountain starts crumbling. All the loose rocks starts flying out. All the animals and the birds are all coming out of that place. There are water bodies which are splashing out. puts complete pressure, and with one stroke he thrusts himself into the air, and he flies like a shining Garuda, and like an arrow coming out of Rama's bow, with that speed. He shouts, Jai Shri Ram, with a huge roar. He lashes his tail onto the ground and he takes a plunge into the air. The impact of him flying, it seems, was so huge that the trees, get uprooted from the mountain, and the trees joining in the journey, they start flying with Hanuman. Kambaramayan, it seems, gives this as an example. They flew with him for a distance, like the host goes and leaves a guest outside. Okay, what does it mean? Basically, when a guest comes to our house, the host is supposed to leave that person. He's not supposed to just say, okay, bye-bye, you're leaving, okay, only till my doorstep, tata, bye-bye. No, the host is not supposed to do that. Hospitality expects that he's supposed to go and leave to the best possible extent. So suppose your guest has come by car, come and go and leave them till the car. If a person is very close to you, you should go and leave them to the railway station or maybe to the airport. It's very important. Whether or not you go to pick up a person, you should always ensure that you go and drop a person. And this is very important. Why? Because it builds relationships. If you go and pick up a guest from an airport or railway station, you become a part of the happiness. Because when you see a guest, when you see a person who's relative, friend or whatever, and you're meeting them after a long time, there is happiness, right? So you become participative in the happiness, right? They also become very happy, you also become very happy of having seen them. When you go to leave them, when you go to see them off, you both are sad. Why are you sad? You are sad because you are not going to part ways. And when you share sadness, when you share sorrow with somebody, the relationship grows that much stronger, right? When you share the happiness, yes, I am very happy to see you. But when you say, I am so sad that you are going now, I will so very miss you, that will ensure that the relationship will get forged much more. And my father used to always say this. He used to say always, never ever, even if you don't go to pick up, it's okay. But always ensure that you go and drop them, see them off. Because that will always forge the relationship to the next level. Seeing somebody, bidding somebody goodbye, walking that distance right up till the airport, that person turning back and waving hand, very emotional, very important, that you connect at that level with that person. And that is very important. So leaving a guest to a particular place is what a host is supposed to do. So these trees, it seems when Hanuman flew into the air, they joined him up to a few meters and then they started falling into the sea, and Hanuman takes off into the air. This is the beginning of the journey that he takes on to go and see Sita. We will take a break here. The reason I will take a break here and then cover the next part of the story is because now Hanuman will start experiencing certain obstacles of different kinds, and how Hanuman responds to them is very critical, and that is what makes Hanuman Hanuman, right? There are obstacles that come out of love. There are obstacles that will test your smartness, and then there are obstacles that will test your brute force. Each of it requires a response which is equated to the challenge that is being posed. So somebody who is posing a challenge with love should not be beaten down. Okay? Somebody who is posing a challenge with brute force is not supposed to be shown love. Right? So you need to understand how to tackle the challenge and how to ensure that the challenge is won over. And this is what we learn in Hanuman's journey. We will ensure that we'll enjoy this particular journey that he travels as he flies across the sea. What I will do and what I plan to do is, I might probably take 3 weeks to cover Sundarkand. Each of the week I plan to cover one portion or one shloka or one bhajan of Hanuman, which talks of his characteristics. Okay, so there are a couple of them. There is Hanuman Shlok that is there. There is about 20 odd shlokas. Then there is Bajrang Ban, okay, which is in Awadh language. And then there is Sankatamochan Hanuman Ashtak, which is also in Awadh language. So I will try and read out that. I will not try and tell meaning because these are all very commonly available on internet. You all can go search the meanings. Some of them are very easy to understand. It's basically Hanuman and his ability to achieve the impossible and the story around Hanuman. So all of us are generally aware of what Hanuman and his feats that he has done. I will just read it out because there is a whole Josh that happens when you read these. So everything related to Hanuman has got a lot of josh, lot of power, it instills a lot of power and confidence in you. So I'll just read that for our benefit. Okay. So today I'm going to read Bajrang Baan. Okay, it is in Awadh language. I'm reading this after a very long time. So I might probably end up doing some slip-ups, but just kindly bear with me. It starts with the Doha and it says, Nischay prema prateet te vinay kare sanman tehi ke karaj sakal shubha siddha kare Hanuman. Jai Hanumant sant hitakari sun लीजे प्रभु अरज हमारी जन के काज विलंब न कीजे आतर दौरी महासुख दीजे जैसे कूदी सिंधु महिपारा सुरस बदन पैठी विस्तारा आगे जाय की लंकिनी रोका मारे उलात गई सुरलोका जाय विभीषण को सुख दीना सीता निरखी परम पद लीना बाग उजारी सिंधु महाबोरा अति आतुर यम कातर तोरा अक्षय कुमार को मार संहारा लूम लपेट लंक को जारा लाह समान लंक जर गई जय 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 ध्वनि सुरपुर में भई अब विलंब के ही कारण स्वामी कृपा करहु उर अंतरयामी जय जय लक्ष्मण प्राण के दाता आतर होय दुख करहु निपाता जय गिरिधर जय जय सुख सागर सुर समूह समरत भटनागर ओम हनु 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 हनुमंत हटीले बैर ही मारु वज्र के कीले गदा वज्र ले बैर ही मारो महाप्रभु महाराज प्रभु दास उबारो ओंकार हूंकार प्रभु दाओ वज्र गदा हनु विलंब न लाओ ओम ह्रीम 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 हनुमान कपीशा ओम हूम हूम हनु उर शीशा सत्य हो हरि शपथ पाय के राम दूत धरु मारु जाय के जय 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 हनुमान अगाधा दुख पावत जन के ही अपराधा पूजा जप तप नेम अचारा नहीं जानत हूँ दास तुम्हारा बन उपवन मग गिरिग्रह माही तुमरे बल हम डरपत नाही पाय परो कर जोरी मनाओ यही अवसर अब कही गोहराओ जय अंजनी कुमार बलवंता शंकर सुवन वीर हनुमंता बदन कराल काल कुल घालक राम सहाय सदा प्रतिपालक भूत प्रेत पिशाच निशाचर अग्नि वैताल काल मारी मर इन्हें मारू तो शपथ राम की राखु नाथ मर्यादा राम की जनक सुता हरिदास कहावो ताकि शपथ विलंब न लाओ जय 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 दुनि होत आकाशा सुमिरत होत दुस्स दुख नाशा चरण शरण कर जोरी मनावो यही अवसर अब कही गोहराओ उठ उठ चलो तो ही राम दुहाई पाय परो कर जोरी मनाई ओम चम 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 चपल चलंता ओम हनु 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 हनुमंता ओम हम हांक देत कपि चंचल ओम सम सम सहमी पराने खलदल अपने जन को तुरत उबारो सुमिरत होय आनंद हमारो यही बजरंग बाण जो मारे ताही कहो फिर कौन उबारे पाठ करे बजरंग बाण की हनुमत रक्षा करे प्राण की यह बजरंग बाण जो जापे ताते भूत प्रेत सब कापे धूप दे अरु जपे हमेशा ताके तन नहीं रहे कलेशा प्रेम प्रतीत ही कपि भजे सदा धरे उरे ध्यान ते ही के कार्य सकल शुभ सिद्ध करे हनुमान. So this is Bajrang Baan, okay, and you all can see, look into the meaning. It's basically in Braj Bhasha. It basically talks of what Hanuman can do or what Hanuman has done. And I'm praying for you, Hanuman. Why don't you come and relieve me of my problems, like the way you did for all the problems that you have relieved for others. This is a prayer for Hanuman and about him. It is important, okay, for us to know that Hanuman didn't jump. Okay, the other Vanars that they spoke of, they spoke of, I can jump for 10 yojanas, 100 yojanas. Even Angada, he said, I can jump for 100 yojanas. They were only able to jump. What Hanuman did was not jump, he flew. Okay, and there is a difference between the two. The difference that we have is, when you jump, if there is an obstacle that comes in between, you will fall down, right? And then you again need ground to again do a jump. And in the midst of the sea, where are you going to find any ground anyways? You cannot find any ground, right? Only when you fly, you can alter your speed. You can reduce your speed, you can take a left turn, you can go towards the right, you can increase your speed, you can go up, you can come down. So you can do all of this only when you are flying. So Hanuman didn't jump, he flew. And this is an important difference And Jambavan knew that the only person who can fly this distance and come back safely with the news is Hanuman, and that is the reason he told that. This is important. I thought I should just drive through that as an important information. So with this beautiful parva or segment where Hanuman, has been reminded of his original strength, Hanuman has been told his importance. We will try and complete today's story and take on the story in our next week. We might probably need, as I said, 2 more weeks to complete Sundarkand. Just for the sake of perspective, Hanuman has started his journey at around 5-ish, 6-ish, okay, just about twilight. So he's going to land there when it's going to be nightfall, okay, and this is important because it's an important part in the story. We'll come to it when we come there, okay. But just to understand that Hanuman has begun his journey around 5:30, okay, just around tea time is when he started his journey, and he is on his way. Hanuman will of course reach where he has to. We will take a week's break and then cover it in the next session. I have told this in the morning session. The saints story, the stories of saint, I'll be covering on Saturday morning, because Saturday happens to be Guru Purnima, and what other better day than to cover a story of a saint and complete Sant Eknath Maharaj's story on Guru Purnima day itself. It is a good fortune that we will be able to do that. Thanks for me, I had fallen sick and missing one day, so I got that extra day to cover on Guru Purnima. So we'll cover it on Saturday at same time 10 o'clock. Ramayana will be the same time, Sunday 7 p.m. That is next Sunday, okay. And then I will probably be taking a break for the saint story, and then again regrouping for saints after I've completed Ramayana. Was I completely clear and without any disturbance? Yeah, great, excellent. Thanks a lot. Is there any questions, or we can then shift ourselves to Hanuman Chalisa? Hanuman Chalisa? Great. Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Varano Raghuvar Bimala Jasu Jodaya Kupalachari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiro Pavan Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohe Haravu Klesha Vikar Jai Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jai Kapi Satihu Loka Ujagar Ramaduta Tulita Baladhama Mahavir Vikrama Bajrangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Ke Sangi Kanchana Varana Viraja Subesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Hata Bajr Aur Baja Viraje Kandhe Munja Jane Hum Saje तेज प्रताप महाजग बंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर रामचंद्र के काज संवारे लाए सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति की नी बहुत बढ़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई सहस बदन तुमरो यश गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना राम मिलाए राजपद दीना मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपै तीनों लोक हाँकते कापे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे।
नासे रोग हरे
सब पीड़ा जपत निरंतर, हनुमत बीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे। मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे, सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा। तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा, और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे। सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे, चारों जुग परताप तुम्हारा है। प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा, साधु संत के तुम रखवारे। असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे, अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता। असवर दीन जानकी माता, राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा। सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा, तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे। जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे, अंत काल रघुवरपुर जाई। जहाँ जन्म है भक्त कहाई, और देवता चित्त न धरहि। सर्व सुख करई संकट कटई मिटई सब पीड़ा। जो सुमिरै हनुमत बल बीरा, जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई। कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाय, ये शत बार पाठ कर कोई। छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई, जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा। होय सिद्धि साकी गौरी सा, तुलसी सा सदा हरिचेला। कीजय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा, पवन तनय संकट हरना। मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित। हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, बोलो हनुमान की। धन्यवाद धन्यवाद।